And a very happy Wednesday to you at 12:08 in the West. Talk Radio 790 KABC, The John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wags in Culver City.
John, we've got a scandal brewing at LAHSA, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, where Karen Bass's appointed leader of that department, Dr. Felicia Adams Kellum, who gets $460,000 a year, authored millions of dollars of contracts to go to her husband's nonprofit.
Here is some good advice. Anytime someone has a medical degree or a PhD or an EDD or whatever the case may be, and they demand that you call them doctor, there's a reason why they're doing that.
No, thank you.
For example, when I go in for a physical, I don't even call my own medical doctor, my own physician doctor. I just call him my dealer. But this woman at all the press conferences had to be introduced as Mayor, take it away. There you go. And wasn't she the one that went out and hired Katie Hill?
Yes.
Okay. That tells you everything you need to know about her judgment.
And before she was in charge of LAHSA, she was in charge of one of the nonprofits that has gotten a whole bunch of money from LAHSA. How is any of this above board?
And just remember this as well. Anytime you don't vote for a tax increase for more money to go to the homeless, and they call you a Neanderthal for doing that, just remember that this is where the money is going. The money is going to make the doctor's spouse very rich.
No, thank you.
Oh, it was just an administrative oversight. You know how this is what they all do. It's not just them, where they hire Katie Hill, a defeated politician who had to leave office in disgrace, and the husband of the woman running LAHSA in charge of the organization. But look at what the fake doctor was doing, where she was using her daughter as the impetus to enact all of her ridiculous policies. Yeah. It's all incestuous in this county. How is it that we live in the biggest county in the entire United States of America, yet when it comes to who gets to call the shots, it's just as incestuous as West Virginia?
There's not enough people paying attention, and there's a lot of corruption and a lot of money out there.
No, it's just there's this cabal of people with all these phony degrees. Karen Bass has a phony degree, too.
And there's a whole crooked story behind that one, too, because it involves the same school at USC that Mark Ridley Thomas went down for, although I don't think he ever actually went to prison.
No, he's supposed to go to prison, but every so often, friends of mine will spot him at swanky restaurants, snap a picture, and send it to me and go, guess who I read into?
I think he is allowed to be out of prison on appeal, and he's going to appeal that thing till the day he dies.
Why not? That's what Todd Chrisley should have done. We'll have more on this later on in the program. But first, as we told you at the end of yesterday's program, the former Congresswoman representing Oakland, California, Barbara Lee Speaks for Me, was forced to return a bunch of money to the tune of thousands of dollars back to the Dong family because she doesn't want any appearances of impropriety.
This was the $5,000 donation she got from the Dongs to run for Senate unsuccessfully.
Quite frankly.
But going back to her first congressional campaign in 1998, she has received over $68,000 from Andy Duong and Danny Duong, David Duong.
Is there anyone who hasn't accepted money from that family in the Bay Area?
Seems like every single person who's anybody in Oakland has something to do with that family. And that family has gotten really rich off of the contracts they get from the city of Oakland.
Even before the FBI raided their homes, it was well known that that firm that they own, California Waste Solutions, was alleged to have overcharged Oakland residents for trash collection services, and the city knew about it and looked the other way. if you are a consumer protector, if you are someone who looks out for your constituents, looks out for the people of California, looks out for the people of Oakland, and you know there's someone scamming them, and you accept money from the scam artists, what does that make you? Well, if you're Barbara Lee, she's hoping it makes her mayor.
Quite frankly.
Because she is now running to replace former Oakland Mayor Sheng Thao.
Absolutely.
Sheng's lawyer has called in. He would prefer if we just called her Mayor Sheng Thao.
Madam Mayor.
And he said, absolutely.
You know, that's what a mayor do.
That's what a mayor used to do.
So Barbara Lee has been, and I'm using air quotes, campaigning for mayor of Oakland. She doesn't seem to be walking around the city or talking to constituents, but she did have time to do a Zoom with a bunch of old Bernie bros in the Bay Area with a pack called Our Revolution.
Now, this is affiliated with the Bay Area Democratic Socialists, correct?
Yes. That is who Our Revolution is. This was when Bernie first ran for president in 2016 unsuccessfully. All the people in charge of the different campaigns throughout the country went from that to form their own things called the Democrat Socialists of America and Our Revolution and all this other nonsense. So it is the furthest progressive that you can get. This is who Barbara Lee is trying to charm to get their endorsement.
Isn't that the group that has a real bee in their bonnet with the Jews?
I believe so.
That's what I thought.
Quite frankly.
So Barbara Lee zoomed in to a meeting of Our Revolution in the Bay Area. Let's see what she had to say about why, in God's name, she wants to run for mayor of the city of Oakland.
I said, hell no, baby boy. Let me get up on out of here.
Thank you very much, Richard. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks so much. Really great to be with you today.
Nothing is
Okay,
better.
now, wait a minute. She is almost 80 years of age, correct?
Yes.
How is it that she has a better grasp of technology than Barbara Ferrer?
Next slide.
And Carol, I listened to what you were talking about as I came on about Donald Trump. And really, he's about canceling out everybody in this country. And it's very...
Aren't you running for mayor of Oakland?
That's the one topic as the former congresswoman from Oakland that she felt comfortable talking about. Because what at the municipal level in Oakland can you be proud of?
It's very scary, but we need to organize. And I know Our Revolution does that very well. And so please keep resisting, organizing. And really, that's the basis of which making life better for everyone will happen. Because right now, the clock is being turned back on so many of the policies, funding priorities, programs that we fought so hard for. So thank you.
You're not in Congress anymore. Are you running for mayor of Oakland or what?
What's going to come next? A toast to Castro?
Thank
Both
you.
Fidel and Raul?
Thank you all very much for staying the course. Yes, I'm running for mayor of Oakland. Would love your support. I have worked for Oakland as a member.
Why is she giggling?
Well, because she knows the results.
As a member of the California.
Maybe she just, for a second while she's speaking, thought about the reality of that she could win this and that city will be her problem and is wondering, what the hell am I doing?
At 80 years of age, you need that problem like you need a hole in your head, which,
It's
by
wild.
the way, you could get too if you live in Oakland.
I have worked for Oakland as a member of the California legislature, of course, formerly staffer to Ron, and then as a member of Congress.
I don't know if it's really a gold star to keep reminding people of Ron Dellum.
No. He was a failed mayor.
To Ron, and then as a member of Congress. I brought billions of dollars into Oakland. And I tell you, Oakland is a city that is a vibrant city. We have...
Have you been there recently?
She's been in Washington for a long time.
Members of Congress, especially on the West Coast, they don't really live here because that is a long-ass flight. This is why Adam Schiff has a studio apartment in Burbank.
A lot of them do. A lot of them, if you were to look at what their quote-unquote domicile looks like, it's usually something very tiny, and then you look at their net worth and you go, wait a minute, why would someone worth that be living there? And then you find out they have a house in Maryland, and you go, okay, I understand.
We have artists, and we have restaurants, and we have...
Actually, the restaurants are closing.
How about the sports teams, Barbara?
Sheng, do we have any?
And we still got our Oakland A's, baby.
No, you don't. They're going to West Sacramento this week.
Entrepreneurs, we have organizations, we have activists, we have a business community that wants to do business in Oakland. And
so far, we are speaking as generic as possible, like she hasn't actually been in Oakland in 28 years.
And she's talking to a bunch of old commies.
And the moment, I think, is here for us to show some leadership and bring people together. Because, government...
Boy, maybe Bonta got the bucket of cliches from her.
I don't know. There's a lot of buckets to go around.
Show some leadership and bring people together. Because, governing is very important for progressives. And we have to be a hands-on governor, mayor. And
boy, her awkward laughing through this thing is very odd.
Yeah, she's 80 years old.
Why does she want this job? She won't be good at it.
Governor, mayor, and I believe that...
Okay, she doesn't even know what job she's applying for.
Did I mention she's 80 years old?
And we have to be a hands-on governor, mayor.
Well, one of the two.
And I believe that my experience and my leadership over the years has prepared me for this job. And I took 2 months to decide.
Do you think the average person who has lived in her district for the past 2 decades can name one thing she did in Congress?
No, they couldn't name one thing that she did in Congress, not one thing she did in the state Senate, not one thing that she did in the state assembly.
And I took 2 months to decide because I wanted to get a handle on the budget, of course, the priority.
You mean the massive budget deficit that was supposed to be bailed out by the sale of the Coliseum, but isn't because that deal is crooked as hell and everyone involved with it is going to prison soon?
And that's not the reason, by the way. It's not like she needed to go on sabbatical and really study up on the budget. She endorsed the no position on the recall of Sheng Thao and took the wait-and-see approach. Let's see if she gets dumped. Let's see what the margins are. Let's see if I have a lane to victory.
The priorities, and also wanted to make sure that everyone knew that I either wanted to run or I did not want to run. And I can tell you for sure that after my 2 months of due diligence, and I'm still doing that during this campaign, I really want to run, and I really want to do this.
That tells me that her family doesn't like spending time with her.
No, I'll tell you what it is. These people cannot give it up. How many 80-year-olds, how many 90-year-olds do you see in elected office where they're walking around in a wheelchair, walking around, I guess, in a walker, or being pushed around in a wheelchair? They don't know where they are. They don't know what they're voting on, but it's the only thing that they know. When she ran for the U.S. Senate, she thought that Gavin was going to appoint her to that position. He said something to her at some point that gave her that idea. And then when he pulled back on that offer or on that implied offer, she thought she could win the seat on her own, which was never going to happen. But to run for the U.S. Senate, she had to give up her seat in the House, which means someone else ran and was elected to replace her. Now, that person is the incumbent, and they're never going to lose until they retire because that's a very safe district. If she wants to remain in elected office as a politician living in the city of Oakland, this is the one thing she can win, and she doesn't want to give it up.
And I'd love your help, and I want to be a mayor who's going to be able to present our values, Oakland values, values that will help the most vulnerable, but also values that will encourage development, value-driven development.
The hell does that mean?
I have no clue.
Making sure that workers have the type of benefits and work environment that they deserve, and making sure...
Most workers would like to not get carjacked as they're walking to their car. Most workers would not like to have a security escort when they go to lunch.
I think I know what she means. She's saying that developers can develop in Oakland provided there is equity in the development, meaning that you pay a living wage, probably meaning that you hire unionized workers, that there is DEI policies in that particular company. If you're building housing, probably that there's a certain amount of Section 8 or low-income housing as part of your development. What she's essentially saying is there have to be political kickbacks to the machine in Oakland if you want to get approval for your project.
And making sure that our community organizations are at the table, including our young people. Actually, and I'll stop by saying this morning, I met with some young people.
Did you meet them at the basketball court?
By the way, if you're 80 years of age by young people, she could mean people in their mid-50s.
And, of course, climate is the big issue for all of us, but young people especially.
How does the mayor deal with that?
Do tell.
For all.
This is a completely different job, a completely different skill set. You can do nothing for 2 decades in Congress and still have a job. You got to be on it, a mayor, for any city, let alone a city that is failing like Oakland, and she's not on it.
If she gets elected, it's going to turn into a Sheng-style disaster almost immediately.
We're going to be craving for the days of Sheng, and not just for the drops.
Absolutely, absolutely.
For all of us, but young people especially, because they don't see a world in which they're going to live. And we talked about what
I can't help myself. Someone pointed this out when she was running for Senate, and now I can't not see it. When I hear her speak for a long time, she does sound like Urkel.
Well, she's totally clueless and doesn't even have any interest in the subject matter that a mayor would deal with.
And we talked about what I've done in Oakland in terms of the Inflation Reduction Act and bringing in federal investments to address all of the vulnerabilities as it relates to climate in Oakland and environmental justice issues. And, and I talked about the Green New Deal. And
oh, boy.
Again, she's running to be mayor of Oakland. You think Donald Trump is going to sign on to the Green New Deal?
They all knew about the Green New Deal. And I said, well, I want young people at the table. What if we look at a local Green New Deal?
This entire Zoom is full of nothing but old people.
What if we look at a local Green New Deal, an Oakland Green New Deal? What do you all think about that? And they love the idea. They're going to look at the bill. They're going to see what's possible. So I don't
And what is it if a country cannot stop global warming? Because it has to be a global thing. If you follow their logic, it really has to be a global thing where everyone signs on to do the same thing. So if one state does it or one country does it, you're not going to make an impact. But she's now saying she wants a Green New Deal only for the city of Oakland, within the city limits, and that is going to somehow impact climate change?
Even though the challenges are many, the opportunities are great. And we have to do this together. And I'm asking for our revolution's support in this effort. Thank you all again very much for your help during the Senate campaign.
It was very helpful, wasn't it? She got 9%.
She lost. She lost to a Republican.
Money ruled, of course, and we've got to get to public financing of campaigns at some point. And so we're still on the front lines, and I thank you again for everything that you've done to make this world a better place. Thanks again.
Okay, that city has 1 million problems. If they elect this woman to be mayor, make it 1,000,001.
Absolutely, absolutely.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you want to go back and listen to yesterday's show or maybe even Monday's show because you were out of town, you want to find out what you missed out on, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is go to KABC.com, click on podcasts, go to the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. Do a Google on the YouTube or get that handy-dandy KABC app. Search KABC AM in the Apple App Store, the Android Store. It's the easiest way to listen live to this radio station and download all the podcasts. you can listen to yesterday's show and find out what the hell was going on in that Alaska Airlines flight.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
790 KABC welcomes David Foster and Chris Body at the Greek Theater on July 19th. Tickets are on sale Friday at Ticketmaster.com. But right now, call in number 9 at 1-888-795-2222. Gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing.
I've got to be honest. I planned on moving away from this Barbara Lee community forum with a group of Democratic Socialists of America. And as I sit here listening to it, I'm in complete shock. Because Barbara Lee, for all her faults, is a professional politician. She's been doing this a very long time. And I figured, okay, she'd read up on all of the city problems going on right now in Oakland, of which there are many, and she'd have something to say about those subjects. But no, she didn't even do the basics. She's just Congresswoman Barbara Lee talking about issues dealing with the Congress of the United States, and she has no plan for that city, which means if she gets in, it's going to be a dumpster fire, or more of a dumpster fire than it already is.
Quite frankly.
Well, Johnny, we heard her brief overview of what she plans to do for the city of Oakland, but let's get into specifics. And, of course, there is no more important issue in Oakland, or really any major city in California right now, than public safety.
One of the things that concerns me is...
oh, boy.
What happened to her?
This is a forum of very old socialists.
One of the things that concerns me is... I have grandchildren.
Is that the actual Flora the Red Menace?
I have grandchildren in Oakland. And
wait, are all these people not even in Oakland? Are these a bunch of Berkeley socialists?
Could be.
And
so she wants the endorsement of a group where none of its members live in Oakland.
Now, Barbara Lee, let me tell you something. I've been doing this for a long time, and I knew Joe Stalin back when he was in grade school. And let me tell you, you're no Joe Stalin, but are you Fidel Castro?
But the safety and general problem with crime is perceived in Oakland as very concerning. And I'm kind of concerned.
It's not just perceived as very concerning, it's very concerning.
Yeah, but if you're an old socialist, you can't acknowledge that, because then you have to acknowledge that all of your programs have failed.
So, socialist from Berkeley says it's a perception. Let's see what an actual resident of Oakland says.
It's a lot of crime now.
I trust her.
And I'm kind of concerned as mayor how you would balance the wanting safety and to protect the citizens of Oakland with police accountability, reducing racial profiling, and holding your officers accountable in the light of...
Oh, so you would like all of them to transfer to other departments?
Only in Oakland, where this woman acknowledges that crime's a problem, but the real problem is the police department. So what are we going to do to put them in jail?
In the light of the reduced budget and the budget problems.
All right, Barbara Lee, she set you up.
Sure. Sherry, that's a very important question, especially for our revolution, for myself, and for people who want public safety in a way that's truly public safety for every community.
Hey, that rhymed. She is very, very, very close friends with Karen Bass. They spent a lot of time in Congress together, and Karen Bass did not endorse Adam Schiff for Senate, did not endorse Katie Porter. She endorsed Barbara Lee.
That's right.
And the
although I got to imagine Barbara Lee does not want that endorsement right now.
Maybe in Oakland it doesn't hurt you, but anywhere else it would.
And the residents of Oakland, the voters of Oakland, passed Measure NN, which set forth a comprehensive strategy to address public safety throughout the city. And so a couple of things. One is we have to have transparency and accountability with the police department. That's a given. And
so the lead is the cops are the problem.
I mean, this is who she's been. This is who she's been for a really long time in a position that doesn't matter.
That's a given. And I've always supported the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. I've always making sure that community.
I think Granny just died.
I hit subscribe on this YouTube channel. I'm sure we're going to be getting a lot more content from the Bay Area DSA.
The Policing Act. I've always making sure that community policing is real in terms of community resident relationships. Also, in measured it set forth a comprehensive strategy to deal with public safety, which of course included an additional, I think, to 700 police officers, but also.
Yeah, they're down to 600.
And why do you want more police officers if they're all a bunch of criminals?
The integration of ceasefire and the mental health work.
Oh, she wants the same thing that Sheng advocated for. We need more life coaches for gang members when they want to shoot each other over retaliatory shootings.
She is running on the same platform as Sheng Thao.
She's Sheng, but less funny.
And he said, absolutely.
The integration of ceasefire and the mental health workers who work in our program to prevent arrests from being taking place when people really need help, alternatives and ceasefire, and all the violence interrupters and violence prevention programs. So we have to.
She's going to double down on everything that did not work in Oakland.
See, this is what happened in the LA DA's race, where you had one of the candidates, Chemerinsky's boy, who was running for the office. And his platform was essentially that George Gascon is personally obnoxious, but his policies are on point. And what Barbara Lee is doing in Oakland is essentially running the same campaign. Okay, the people of Oakland don't like Sheng Thao's personality, but her positions on the issues are correct.
Program. So we have to look at public safety. One is like everybody deserves public safety, but two, over policing is not the answer.
Oh boy. You understand how under-policed the city is, right? To the point where Gavin Newsom is threatening to pull out the CHP if the city of Oakland doesn't start letting the cops chase criminals again.
Okay, I can't recall Sheng Thao ever saying that the city is over-policed. She might be worse than Sheng Thao.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
My poor girl.
And three, we know what works, and we know what is working in Oakland, even though
What is working in Oakland?
Nothing.
Let's check in with another resident.
Who else we go call Superman?
And three, we know what works, and we know what is working in Oakland, even though the crime rate's coming down. Nobody believes it, but it is. And that
No, nobody believes it.
She is making the same argument that Sheng did. Everything is fine. All of our programs are working. It's just the news media that's negative.
But it is. And that's because finally we had a Department of Violence Prevention and Ceasefire that's integrated now into the overall public safety strategy.
It's all about the life coaches.
I really can't believe what I'm hearing.
You're in shock.
I know that she's bad, but wouldn't you recognize if the city just dumped the mayor that doubled and tripled down on all of these policies, that they're ready to move in a different direction? And she's just continuing to say, this is what I'm going to do. You're going to get more of the same.
And so I would want to do that. And I would also, I'm looking at public safety from a regional perspective, because when I was in the legislature, Tom Bates and I started the public safety corridor, and it worked. We had everyone in the region at the table. And so we were able to prevent a lot of crimes from taking place. And then, so I'm looking at regionalism in a bunch of, a few areas, but also in terms of just making sure that everyone has a seat at the table and that we know what's going on. So transparency, accountability, and a comprehensive approach to public safety is what we really need to do here in Oakland.
Do you have any idea about what her plan is?
More of the same. She thinks it's working. She thinks that Operation Ceasefire and all of those programs that Sheng used to talk about on a regular basis are working like a Swiss clock. and that Oakland just has a bad rap because the news media is negative and they focus on sensational stories that make the city look like it's unsafe. But if you're smart enough to understand statistics, you would know that Oakland is a very safe big city in the United States. That's her platform. This is essentially Kamala 2.0. When she went on The View and was asked, what's the difference between you and Joe Biden? And she said, there is none. That was the product that she was selling. She was selling more of the same. And that is now what Barbara Lee is doing in Oakland. She is selling more of the same.
Sheng, do you have a response?
You may be frightened, and I know how you feel.
I don't understand why you would do that, but that's what she's doing. These people learn nothing. I don't get it. I don't get it. Let's go to Seth in Long Beach. Seth, hello.
Hey, guys. Is Barbara Lee the politician who wants to make minimum wage $50 an hour, or do I ever confused with somebody else?
That's Barbara Lee.
Oh, yeah. No, look, I'm all in. That sounds very, very efficient for our state, which is clearly flush with cash right now. And I'm saying this as, I guess a reformed Democrat. I was born in the wool, raised in a family that was all Dem, and I had to be kicked in the teeth multiple times by that party before I realized, and to quote Reagan here, I didn't leave the party, they left me, and I'm not trying to equate myself with them, but I'm saying it was that hard. I had to be when they take people out of the cult because they're still running around with Patty Hearst committing crazy actions. I was I had to open my eyes. I'm oh my God, what happened? People are showing up on CNN at Democratic rallies dressed up as Hezbollah terrorist sympathizers. Wait a second. I'm Jewish. This doesn't really check a bunch of boxes for me. And it's okay, I'm a little more aware of where things are. So, but yeah, I think that's great. Why shouldn't the person at Burger King who makes my kids fast food sandwich get $50 an hour? I think that's a brilliant socioeconomic plan. Then they can all buy homes in the Palisades eventually. I got to go. Okay, guys?
Thanks for the call, Chef. We appreciate it.
I think the Democratic Party is going to get all in behind Barbara Lee the same way they did it behind Karen Bass in L.A.
They're gonna. It's going to be a disaster, and we'll see if Barbara Lee has to face her own recall.
Quite frankly.
Okay, if you can see it, and Seth can see it, and I can see it, how can these people who are professional politicians in the Democratic Party, professional fundraisers, professional strategists, how can they not see it too?
It's a really good question.
Eventually, they're going to start losing elections.
They are already.